kind of like an urban decay style of pop art, you know?
Revival of the
Yeah, exactly. Just bringing something that should be in the garbage and trying to bring it back to a funner place, you know?
Anthony Pecoraro is an Italian-Canadian mixed collage artist in Montreal. His style of art takes pieces of old materials or posters and creates something new and unique by placing them over each other on a canvas. Even his nickname, Teats, derives from a recurring chipped tooth, in constant need of a cap to be collaged over it. His latest project, Amaro, focuses more on his connection with the Italian community.
I want it to be just really wrapped around the whole idea of just Italian iconic imagery, but also Canadian Italian and American Italian, you know, which is like a whole different thing, which people don't realize.
A mixologist by trade, Amaro combines Italian images with Italian liquors and logos.
I'm trying to bring back I love like vermouth posters, like Contratto posters, like those old Campari posters and Averno posters. I love that stuff, so I'm trying to bring that back, but like in a new light.
The idea developed by two of his collages, Monica Bellucci and Frank Sinatra, his favorite work to date. Topped with a green hat and a vermouth logo, even a coaster from a trip to Italy was repurposed and stuck onto the canvas. His mother, Cristina Panzera, shares the same opinion on the prize piece. Calabrese and Pugliese, Cristina saw something special in her son from the get-go.
Anthony got himself involved in karate, and he had to perfect on his split, right? Split on 2 chairs. That for him it's true, it was unique. He loved it. For him, it was always about doing something elevated, more elevated, and doing something much more different than others. Putting his little touch into it so people remember him as Anthony.
I grew up with like a super creative father and mother, so I was always kind of like surrounded by it. My dad's like an oil painter, you know, my mom's like an artist in the kitchen, you know.
Anthony's father, Francesco Pecoraro, was born in Sicily. Beginning as a hairdresser and today owning his own construction company, he always had a talent for art. It started with small sketches to his wife in love letters and developed into oil painting landscapes.
He has that art form the way my husband has, but in a more contemporary, more of the urban look.
Growing up in a creative family was just as influential as his environment. In the Italian borough of Montreal, Rivière des Prairies, he was an involved member even at a young age, serving as an altar boy for the Maria Aussealtrice Church. He was inspired in a unique way.
Well, I literally grew up right in front of the church.
I'm behind the church.
See, everybody's around the church. You ask anybody from the RDP, they're like, where do you live? Bro, right next to the church. I grew up with those bells ringing every morning. I was an altar server at that church.
Oh my God.
Like, I was super into like religion when I was a kid for some reason. Like, the robes and the candles and just the darkness of the whole religion. I saw it maybe in a darker way than most people, and it kind of attracted me to that. So.
His grandmother lived in the apartment downstairs and his great-grandmother upstairs. They would speak in Italian and watch movies like Cinema Paradiso about a young Sicilian boy named Alfredo in love with cinema. This environment built a strong connection for Anthony to the Italian culture and family.
Anthony, first of all, he's got a genuine soul. He's I don't start crying, but he's my son, and he's very in touch with his values, his roots. Family is the most important thing in his life. That love that he carries out for others, he puts that in his art.
Close to his father, Anthony would sit as a child in his father's hair salon, Studio Hollywood, in Montreal North, and watch him artistically trim, cut, and razor old hair into new do's. Covering the walls were iconic pictures of Elvis Presley and James Dean.
I always grew up with them, and I always wanted to do something with them, but like, obviously you can't photograph these people, you know, so it's cool to take iconic imagery and just bring it back in this new style of today. Around me, and I think photography was probably one of the first things that really like caught my eye. And when I was in secondary 1, like I bought my first little camera off my friend. I remember he was selling these fucking stolen cameras, and I bought it, and I was very excited about it.
This hobby remained just that, as Anthony pursued a career in the hospitality industry instead. At the young age of 14, Anthony started working in restaurants from the East End of Montreal, like La Stanza and La Bella Italiana in St. Leonard, to manager and bartender in Old Port location.
Cocktail manager, right? So opening up restaurants, and it's that creative mind again, right? He sees something and he has a plan. He sees it. He knows exactly in an empty space how that space is going to look like once it's all done. And he loves it. He puts this extra hours, and he can work until that place is up to par with him.
Like for me, like making cocktails is so something I love to do. Like for me, like each cocktail is a mini art installation. Like it's beautiful.
The industry brought him to move to Ibiza at 19 years old, working in a restaurant. Instead of martini recipes, Anthony discovered fashion magazines and the works of Paolo Roversi's Dior photo collection, which he says are ghostly yet magical. He returned to Montreal with a new focus: photography. His first exhibition was a successful realization.
Like I said, my first exhibit, I would print photos and I would bleach them and paint over the photos, you know? So it was always a bit of hands-on, you know? That exhibit made me realize, like, fuck, I could sell art. Now, like, this whole digital world is not really my favorite, you know? Like, even just to sit down in front of a computer too long, it doesn't really excite me, you know?
Almost all of his photographs, however, had one thing in common. They were portraits.
You know, I love doing portraits. I love like telling a story just with someone's face. You know, I feel like everybody has something to tell.
And he wanted to know what Rebecca Petraka had to say. His girlfriend of 5 years, the couple met when Anthony asked over Facebook if he could photograph her portrait. While Rebecca is occupied with her psychology studies at Concordia University, she says Anthony brings out her inner creativity.
Are pretty much bounce off of each other, and even though I'm not in the artsy world, I feel like I still help him out, you know, give him some ideas. It just adds all of our different perspectives to make something like even more robust, let's say.
This is clear when you take a look at the apartment they share today. With Rebecca's family from Lazio, Calabria, and Molise, their decor looks like that of an Italian museum filled with antique Italian furniture passed down by their grandparents.
Like just growing up with my grandmother and like just her furniture to me was pieces of art.
Right.
From the little glasses with the flowers on them to like, you know, so I guess just growing up in an environment that like everything's super stylized.
Nonostante l'arte sia sempre stata una passione per Anthony, è stato solo dopo l'inizio della pandemia che ha deciso di intraprendere questa carriera a tempo pieno. Dopo aver sopperso il lavoro al ristorante, ha affittato questo studio d'arte nel quartiere di Plateau Montréal con il suo amico e socio d'affari.
I guess that's when I started realizing that. And then with the whole COVID thing, it kind of forced me to just do this because I have nothing else to do and I'm not the type of person to just play video games.
He's been talking about doing these things for so long, and I think COVID definitely has its negatives, but the positives of it was that a kid that was working in restaurants nonstop and had no time to do what he actually wanted to do finally had the time to like gain some new skills and learn and create.
Not only was this time a barrier to fulfilling a life of art, but the restaurant industry and its partying lifestyle were also.
If you're just like partying too much, like sure your mind might be going crazy of thinking of all these ideas, but you wake up the next day, you don't do it. You don't actually pursue your goals, you know? Like I stopped drinking and like doing drugs for like 4 years now. And like I think it's ever since then that I really started like pursuing my dreams the way I should, you know? Not just dreaming like a dreamer, but actually pursuing and doing things and waking up the next day and being like, okay, I'm gonna do that idea that I had because I'm awake at 7 a.m. I'm not trying to fall asleep at 8 a.m. instead.
Anthony appreciates liqueurs and alcohols for their notes in flavor and artistic design, getting drunk on art. The result was a transition from the world of photography to mixed media collages. Everyday sights in the griminess of the underground world for Anthony today are artistic opportunities.
I don't know, every time I'm walking around and when I see images and, you know, I never throw away coasters or like little pamphlets with cool images because I feel like all these like papers that are lying around on the streets with like cool images and they end up getting thrown in the garbage. It's like, why are they thrown, you know? Like a lot of like big advertisements on the streets, I like to bring them into the studio, like all this stuff, you know? And because it's just gonna go in the garbage eventually. Like, why not use these colors and these textures, you know? So I just see it as like a second chance for all these things. I feel like they deserve a second chance, you know? Like.
He showed me this creative process, beginning with the pile of street posters under his father's handmade wood table. He chose one of his first pieces, Blondie, of which he didn't like anymore. Rather than throwing it out, he worked on it further, adding new pieces and materials. Ironically, this is one of his girlfriend's favorite pieces.
But there was another one that's at his studio, which is Blondie, right? Blondie? He created this really nice blondie that he doesn't even think is good. Kind of at the beginning of this whole like new experience that he has been doing. It was the beginning of his business, and I don't know. I think that one was just like really different from his old styles, and it was kind of like a beautiful transition into what he's doing now.
While the pandemic has made Instagram the main source for promotion, clients, and sales at the moment, no challenge in the arts industry is too difficult to interfere with Anthony's new career choice.
No, not really. No, I get excited about like challenges. Nothing's too hard in life. Like we live once, you know. Like just do it. If it's too hard, then you to the point you don't want to do it. It's probably not for you. You know. It's probably because you don't want to do it. Because if you want to do it, you'll figure out how to make it not hard. You know.
He's very driven and he's very passionate about what he does. Anything that he sets his mind to, he will do. He will do it. Like if he wants to work out, let's say, like he'll change his lifestyle and he'll find a way to work out like a maniac and get that goal that he wants to get. You know?
Anthony's parents are also pleased with their son's decision.
This is where his comfort level and the security became like, this is what I really want to do. And I really honestly encourage Anthony to continue doing this. Even when this pandemic is over, continue. This is your dream. I want you to go for it.
They're very happy to see what I do because they just see I'm happy. You know?
Nice.
My parents are super, like they're always like super supportive of anything I would do. I would do the craziest things and they're like, oh, if that's what you want to do, you know? So they're always there for me, which is awesome. Yeah, so they're happy.
And Anthony has already achieved some big successes during this time. Tank Garage Winery in California is a wine company that uses work from independent artists on their limited edition bottles. After contacting him, they purchased his Punk Monroe piece, inspired by punk culture.
Well, it was really like just inspired by, I was just trying to do like a punk style of Marilyn Monroe because like she's such like a beautiful, elegant lady that I just wanted to see like a different side of her.
And if you ever happen to be having a nice dinner at Fiorellino's, an Italian restaurant in Notre Dame, then you'll find Anthony's collage on Monica Bellucci, an iconic Italian actress and one of the first pieces inspiring the new Amaro collection. Anthony isn't done molding his career yet though. With his longtime friend and restaurant colleague, Dean Henry, they are about to launch their own video production company From the Art Studio. Their ultimate dream? To express artistically in as many mediums as possible, to be everywhere, and to do it through everything.
It's like to leave a little mark here, you know, that's there like longer than you are. To know that you're in Montreal and someone maybe in Italy is looking at your piece.
In the long term, Anthony would like to open up a cocktail bar called Rumore, which would also act as a permanent art installation.
Like my personal dream is to open up a cocktail bar called Rumore, which is like based around Italian culture. My grandfather's mom's last name was Rumore.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's just a cool, like, as soon as I saw that in writing, I was like, that's awesome.
For Anthony, art allows him not only to express, but to combine his passions for mixology and Italian culture. And his next collection is already sought after by those he loves most.
Doing that new collection, which I can't wait to see because that's the piece that I want.
Nice.
That's one of the pieces that I want.
Anthony manifests his culture not just through art, but in other ways as well, like speaking the language not just with his grandparents, but on his own free time.
Yeah, I feel like it's very important. I even practice it on Duolingo every day, like just because I can't speak it every day, so I like to practice every day on an application instead of being on Instagram. I'll like do 10 minutes of Italian courses. I feel like it's just super important to keep that language going. Anything to do with the Italian culture in Montreal, I'd love to try to be a part of it.
In any child that keeps the roots and continue on, the legacy always continues. It's keeping the roots here in a different fashion, in a different way. It's unique.
Rooted on a canvas, Anthony's legacy and Italian influence will live on the walls through collections like Amaro.